Good evening, Facebook, and welcome to Deep Conversations and Transformations. My name is Lynette, and my intention behind these interviews is that everyone involved positively transforms. And tonight I'm joined by my good friend Lee Fitzpatrick. Lee is an entrepreneur and a mental health advocate. Oh, and he's here. Yes, bring them on. Lee, I think it's going to work straight away. So Lee's been building businesses for the last 10 years and at the same time was battling poor mental health and depression. And I'm really excited to have him on tonight. So let's hope this happens. It's saying it's adding you, Lee. So fingers crossed. It's funny because here he is. Welcome.
Hi,
Yes.
how you doing?
Yes, I'm so good. So I'll just tell the viewers that you text me at 5:30 to tell me that you had a Samsung phone, which I should have asked you. And luckily my dad had an old iPhone, which you came and collected. So you've actually gone out your way to make this happen. So thank you so much.
Definitely.
It worked. Yes.
Yes.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm really good. And I'm excited to be on. Yeah,
I'm excited to have you here.
Just touching base about that. So obviously in the bio, I've spoke about having depression and anxiety. And as soon as anything goes wrong in my life, I'm very quick to shut down. So even earlier on, when we realised that, oh, Lee's not got an iPhone, it would have been very easy for me to just be like, let's cancel it, let's not do it. So that's something I've been working on for the past couple of years now, is trying to stick to commitments. So I'm excited to be here.
Amazing. And I bet so many people can relate to that. Like, give us a love heart if something's come up and maybe there's like an issue and we just think, oh, just leave it. But we actually, and I could have quite easily gone, oh, just leave it, but we found the solution. We made it happen. And I think that's what helps you to break through the fears, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. Particularly in the past, when I've been at my lowest, that has been one of my probably go-to self-sabotage methods is cancelling commitments or appointments with people, clients, friends, catch-ups, and those are the kind of decisions that can spiral really quick. For me particularly, it can spiral really quickly into sort of being self-isolated and losing that connection with people. So it's one of those things where if I can realise that I can make a really positive decision, where in the past I would have made a negative decision, it's just reminding myself to do that, because when you're in the moment, it's tough to remember that. Yeah,
it can be tough. I think it helps as well when you're surrounded by people that just push you a little bit as well.
Yeah,
and I know
certainly.
we do that for each other. If we're sat in some fear, we can really help each other.
Yeah,
I think
totally.
That's key.
Yeah, I think us two particularly, we try to catch up, what I would say, once a fortnight.
Yeah.
And we make an effort to make sure that we do catch up. And it's these discussions that you have with people that are on the same journey and actually care about you as well, that can make a huge difference. If you're having a tough week, or you've fell behind, not met some deadlines, or you're struggling with self-esteem, just to meet someone that is a friendly face and you get on with and you relate to, it can make a massive difference.
Yeah, huge. And I just want to say I'm so proud of you for stepping up and stepping out and speaking your truth about mental health and depression, because it is something that not many men talk about, or women, but it's becoming more talked about. So tell us your journey with, creating businesses but having depression or poor mental health.
Sure. Yeah, delighted to. I think before I do, I think the important thing that I've realised recently is I'm still at the start of my sort of, self-discovery journey. So I am by no means perfect or have it sorted. I think the more you delve into looking within and trying to figure out what your triggers are for poor mental health, or how you struggle, or just trying to figure life out, I'm a very driven person, and it's sometimes difficult for me to deal with life because I want to be here and I'm only here, and it's struggling to chunk that down into, small steps. But something I realise with the time, particularly over the past couple of years that I've been spending, looking within, trying to figure out what's important to me. It's not just success that life is about. But something I've really noticed is I'm just really scratching the surface with learning how to process things, how to deal with things. So yeah, I'm right at the start of this journey, and that's why I wanted to come on and chat, because hopefully I can relate to people who might think that they're struggling or don't know where to start, but probably in most cases they have already started, even maybe just by tuning into this video, making a
just by
commitment to
becoming
watch.
aware.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, so I suppose something I've spoke a lot about in the past, and something I wanted to share on this video is probably the correlation between my drive to succeed and how that's changed over the years in terms of what I perceive as success, and then just the struggle that I've had with my mental health along the way.
Yeah.
And it's been a bit of a ride. It's been a real tough journey at times. But I suppose that I've always wanted, or I've always had an interest in business. You'll know, every time we speak, any time I delve into anything to do with business or entrepreneurship, my energy just lifts and it just raises completely. So I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My mum's side, I think they have a business now that's in its 4th generation. So it's been going for, I think, 85 years now. So my great-granddad set that
that's
up.
A long time.
So I think that's probably the most important starting point for me, is business has always been part of my life. It's always been the discussion around the dinner table. It's always been the dominating force. And there are positives with that, which, are the family get to spend a lot of time together. We have reasonably comfortable lifestyles because the business is so established. But it comes with its downsides, It's all the family ever speaks about. There's never a dinner or family occasion that goes by that it never transpires into, how's the shop doing? How's, this customer done this? And we're having a bad month or a good month this month. So I think that it's definitely in my blood, and it's that I think there's definitely an element of the family have had something to do with me being so interested in business. So as soon as I left school, which was probably about 10, 11 years ago, I went into a job for a few months and had this amazing, I was really lucky that I had this French boss. His name was Vincent, and he was a bit crazy, but he was so supportive. So I was only probably in that business for 6 months maximum. And by that point, he had encouraged me to set up my own business and had support. So yeah, like an absolute gent, as I say, really crazy, really flamboyant, like quite a character. But he encouraged me to set up my own business, and he actually became my first customer. So
that's incredible.
So I really got my hand held into that first business, which essentially was it started off as a cleaning company for rental properties, and then it kind of evolved into, over 3-4 years, it evolved into quite a substantial building business, and we've done larger projects. So that was the first business, and the first few years went great. So we had Vincent as a client. We had, we grew pretty steadily. It was just great fun. And then what happened is we grew too big too quickly. We had quite a lot of staff. We had a lot of overheads. We felt, and when I say we, I had a business partner at the time, Sean, who actually is my business partner now, with a different business, which we've spoke about. But we felt this pressure to be perceived as successful. So we would buy the newest van and we'd get it sign wrapped. And, you know, I think we had maybe 5 or 6 vans at the time. Everything would be brand new. We wanted to be seen as the go-to building company for letting agencies. And that was probably one of the biggest mistakes I've made, because our overheads, what happened is our overheads just quickly overtook our income.
Right. Yep.
And our cash flow became unmanageable. And that was probably the first time that I, in business, started to struggle with my mental health. So it was that event. It was the event of us not having enough money to pay our bills or pay our staff, or complete the jobs and the projects and keep customers happy. And very quickly, I think over a 6-month period, we just got to a point where we couldn't continue. So we had to liquidate the business. So that was probably the biggest challenge that I've had to date. And what came along with that was just a huge amount of guilt, a huge amount of denial, and actually just withdrawal, complete withdrawal from the situation. And it probably seen me locked in my bedroom for, without exaggerating, weeks at a time. Like just blocking out the world, replying to emails if I had to in my bedroom, but I would be in there for days, if not weeks. So that's been the. Oh, on you go.
No, sorry. See, when you got into those, somebody asked the question, like when you were in those lowest moments, like what helped you to shift to like a new state of being? Like what things helped you to start to lift yourself out of that?
So at the time, in the moment, it almost felt impossible. And I probably I can looking back, I could tell you what I would have done, which is a luxury, but I would have just accepted how things were and just looked in the mirror and says, this is where we're at. You're only human. No one's perfect. And actually, that's probably one of the most important things I've learned is no one really knows what they're doing. And it's kind of this imposter syndrome. I feel that in anything I do, I feel that I'm not good enough, or, I've not got the skills or the experience to do what I'm doing. But actually, when you start to speak to people, you realize that, and honest people that are willing to really, connect on an emotional level with you, you realize that they don't know what they're doing either. Like when it comes down to it, we've all got the same opportunity to learn and grow. More often than not, unless you're a genius, at the same pace. So
there's lots of hearts coming through. So I'm guessing this is hitting things for people. It's like me with these, like 5 minutes before I come on, I'm like, oh, what am I doing? What am I doing? Like we don't know what we're doing. We just have to go with it and accept, trust. I think trust comes into it. Trust yourself that you can do these things, eh?
Yeah, 100%. And I think a good example is today, I've probably watched 5 of your previous interviews.
Yeah.
And everyone that I watched, they're just amazing people. So I started to build up this real fear of coming on tonight. And when we messaged to say that the phone wouldn't work, the Samsung, I was kind of like, oh well, that's great. At least no one's going to know that I'm a fraud, and why am I actually on here? So it's just interesting that as I've developed over the years, I've started to realize that I just need to accept where I'm at and be grateful for where I'm at, and be confident in my ability to progress. So I think looking back, when I've been at my lowest, it's really just been, it's at the lowest points that are the most difficult. Like being stuck in my room for weeks at a time. It would be so easy to go outside. Like you think it would be easy to just go out and make a positive decision, but when you're inside your own head and your thoughts are spiraling out of control, it's almost impossible to break that cycle. But I think looking back, if you can just accept the reality and have that honest conversation with yourself or someone else, and then decide that as of tomorrow is a new day, and you're going to make some positive decisions. And whether that's journal, I can't say that, writing down.
Journaling.
I can't say that word. So writing down, you know, what positive actions you can take.
Yeah. And I think what you said there about when I was watching all the videos back thinking, oh my God, all these, it's funny, every guest I have on says the exact same thing.
Yeah.
That I believe that every single person has so much magic inside of them. And you are one of those, you're one of those people. I wouldn't have you on here if I didn't believe it.
I appreciate that.
And I'm glad that you trusted me and just got yourself on here.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Someday, I remember the last interview I done with my friend Nicola, and somebody asked a great question. It was like, do you think depression serves a purpose? For me, I truly believe it does once you get through it. But for you, what comes up when I ask that question? Do you think depression serves a purpose?
Yeah, I would agree with you wholeheartedly. I think for me, and I can only really speak for myself.
Of course, yeah. Just share what comes up for you.
I think that it's almost been critical in getting me through some of the toughest points in my life. You know, I had to get to the bottom. I had to be locked in my room, like pretty much crying for hours, to be able to realize that I can only really go up from here. And I think I've probably struggled with depression and anxiety for, I'd say, a good 10, 12 years now. And we can maybe chat about in a little bit about the first time was probably when I had acne at school. And I think I mentioned that in the bio that so at the time I got awarded a golf scholarship at Loreto in Musselburgh, which was like amazing because that was my passion at the time. I've got quite an addictive personality, so when I commit to something, it's all in and I go for it. And the first time that I experienced that was golf. So I would spend hours and hours every day on the golf range at the golf course in the summer holidays. And then eventually I worked so hard that I got awarded a golf scholarship.
Wow.
So that was a great point in my life. But at that same time, I developed really bad acne, and I had it for probably about 3 years. So that was probably a big shift for me because I moved to a private school from a public school.
Right.
So I had all these new people to deal with, this new way of life. And at that point, my self-esteem was at the lowest because I had this acne that had appeared on my face and I never knew how to deal with it. And we had tried absolutely everything, every cream, every lotion to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And I can remember the golf being the biggest opportunity in my life to date, but I would go out of my way to avoid going to school or to the golf scholarship. And it actually got so bad that I eventually got pulled up for essentially skiving. And we had to have the conversation that it was because my self-esteem was so low, and it was so low that I couldn't even look in the mirror for, I think, and this is just a guess because my memory is terrible, but probably about 18 months. I refused to look in a mirror. I refused to walk past a car in case I caught a glimpse of myself.
Yeah. Wow.
So that was a massive challenge in itself, and ultimately it ended in me not finishing the scholarship and moving on to my first job. But that door closed and the new door opened with my eccentric French boss so I feel that is probably the first example of poor mental health or anxiety that I've dealt with that has actually been important for my self-development. So I completely agree with what you've said about it being almost necessary in some instances.
And when you shared that with the school, what was the response? Because obviously when we were at school, mental health wasn't really spoken about. And now at school, you know, it's all about growth mindset, and they are like slowly changing things, I believe.
Yeah.
But what was the response back then?
So when you mentioned that, I remember a really lovely, she was kind of like the school nurse.
Right, okay.
She's actually, her name's Claire, and she's
Uh-huh.
from Trinent. So I really connected with her at the school because I was one of the only day pupils, and everyone else were kind of like international students who flew in to stay and board for like months at a time.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like the local boy who was kind of, and there was I had a few other friends who were day schoolers, but I kind of felt like I was on the outside, I
Right,
was
yeah,
kind of like
yeah,
this
because you're a
outsider
little
coming
bit
in.
different from
Yeah,
whatever.
totally.
And I think, we want to connect with people. We want to feel like we belong. And maybe if things are slightly different, again, that can be another sort of blockage, eh?
Yeah,
Being so
totally.
young.
But Claire, the nurse, was just fantastic. Like and actually skip forward 5 6 years. When I had the boot camp business,
Yeah.
she was one of our customers, so she came along and trained with us.
Amazing.
But she was really supportive, and I think I was in such a bad place that I can't even remember how people
Okay, yeah.
dealt with it, because I was kind of just at a point where I was blocking it out completely, and I was just so focused on getting away
Yeah.
that that was my ultimate goal, and I achieved that by essentially not turning up.
Yeah.
So it was a tough time, but as I say, it opened new doors, and I think that has been the continuous theme in my life. Whenever I've had a really tough time, I've struggled with depression or anxiety, or I've had a challenge that I've had to face, I've always dipped, but I've always came back. I've
Yeah.
always came back stronger. I've always came back more aware. And I think that process has made me who I am today. And it's
Yeah.
an ongoing process. Yeah,
And
completely.
what tools, what sort of things do you use to help now with your mental health, with like keeping yourself in a really good state? How do you, what do you do?
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. Throw your phone away.
Yeah,
That's the first
in
thing.
disgust. So I think the most important thing for me today is exercise. So
Yeah.
obviously, this is actually how we met.
Yeah, this is
So
how we
I
met at the gym.
opened a gym two and a half years ago with two business partners, and created this amazing space for people to train. And actually that's one of the things that I'm most proud of to date.
Yeah.
But leading up to that process, I went through a bit of a sort of process of self-discovery, and one of the things that really helped me focus and clear my mind and get into a positive state of mind was exercise. And I think I lost maybe 3 stone at one point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Were you big,
I was chubby,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, I had a bit of excess weight, and that was the result of it was the result of putting all my energy into my business and neglecting me.
Yeah.
So it would be the junk food that I would eat, and just several years of just letting my self-care drop and not
Yeah.
really looking after myself. So when I found exercise, just like the golf and just
Yeah.
like business, I went all in, and I just developed this passion for it. So I would be training 2 days a week, two times a day.
2 times a day, yeah.
2 times a day, every day, for weeks and essentially years. And that inspired me. Once I lost all that weight and I was in such a positive frame of mind, it inspired me to set up the gym. So we created that gym, launched it, and it's one of the things that I'm most proud of, is being able to help other people use exercise to just to see people transform when they start to get fit, but not only physically, mentally, they start to develop a strength that they've never realized before. So I think exercise is one of the most powerful tools that I have in my toolkit.
Yeah, it does change your state. We release our emotions, I believe, when we are exercising, moving, however that looks for each individual. But yeah, I think it's really powerful. And I think what you created up in that gym, level 10, was just incredible. It was a real community. And I got the pleasure of going in and taking some of my sessions there. It was just amazing. And you connected me to a lot of people. So yeah, thanks for creating that.
Nah, no problem. And something that, because this is I get asked a lot this question that you've just asked me, you know, what tools do you use to try and get back on track when you fall off the wagon?
Yeah.
And so once I lost all that weight and started the gym, I got myself into such a great place that I promised myself I would never get back to feeling the way I did through not exercising.
Yeah.
But probably about 9 months ago, probably about 8 months ago, you know this, I decided to hand the gym back to my business partners, and I decided the time was right to move on.
Yeah.
But since that, so as soon as I'd done that, I lost my momentum with my training. And even though I had promised myself that I would never stop exercising again, I went through a period of probably 5 months where I never exercised.
Yeah.
Never put on weight, but really my energy just drained completely. And I built up that anxiety, that fear, that actually, because I was a personal trainer, that I was so scared to go back into that gym and be seen as unfit or, you know, again, a bit of that imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And I let that happen for 5 months before making the decision to try a new style of training at a new gym.
Yeah.
And within a week, and this was only probably a month ago, within a week, I was back to the old Lee again.
Amazing.
So, and that's why I say that, like, people ask me what tools I use, and actually, I'm still making the same mistakes that I was making 10 years ago.
We're only human.
Yeah, I'm making the exact same mistakes in different scenarios. I'm just learning a bit quicker. I'm just becoming a bit more aware. And I've just got more of a support network like you guys, Gary, Thomas, Alina, everyone, that I can now, actually, I don't even need to call upon you because I just need to put Facebook on and you're there with a positive message. So, like, yeah, I'm still making the same mistakes I made 10 years ago. I'm just learning how to deal with them more efficiently. So, I don't
are.
And people get so caught up on this. They think that they need to do something. Just speaking about, like, when you get to your lowest point, when you're in that point, you're beating yourself up so much and your thoughts are so negative that you think you have to do something monumental to change, where in actual fact, you just need to make one positive decision and that can change everything. And that's always what happens. Like, looking at patterns in the past, when I've had these spells of, like, poor mental health and being back at a positive place, I can remember signing up to these crazy things. So at once, actually, when I met Rihanna, I decided that I was going to do these 15 crazy challenges over 15 months. And looking back, I actually think that was a symptom of me trying to do something really positive to pull me out of a depression. And you don't have to do these crazy things. You just need to connect with people and take that first step to doing something positive.
Yeah, connection keeps coming up. You know, there was a list of things that you wanted to cover in our interview tonight, and connection was one of them. And I think you and I both know, like, that deep connection that we get to experience with all these amazing people we have in our lives. It's really helped both of us to grow and evolve. I think, tell me about connection for you.
So there's the first thing that came to my mind there was how useful your classes have been. So when you're doing your guided heart meditations and we're lying on the floor, you know, in absolute peace, you always ask the question, or you ask us to bring someone in to our thoughts or into our heart. And that at that point, and I'm sure everyone else in the room feels the absolute same, I get really emotional with the people that I bring into my life. But the positive from that, and what's been really amazing, is on the back of your classes over the past year, I then reach out to that person, and
Wow.
I connect with them. I tell them how much I appreciate them and I love them. And I've seen my relationships over the past 12 months just transform, especially with family members, because I've been so focused on achieving success, and that's all I've ever focused on. Every ounce of energy goes into that. And when I've not been doing that, I've been struggling with mental health. I've neglected other areas in my life that are important, like family and friends. So your classes have just been so powerful and given me that little boost to actually reach out to people. And I'd say, especially over the past 6 months, I've connected with family members in a much deeper way than ever before. So it's been powerful.
Wow, I never knew that. I'm so impressed
Yeah,
that you
really,
actually reached out to them, because I know, like,
really
I do that.
powerful.
Yeah, I do that in every class, obviously, but I never hear if people actually go and reach out to them. So thanks for sharing that, because that's
No,
what
it's
it's
okay.
all about. And sometimes our heart will show us people that sometimes we don't even want to see in
Yeah,
that space or that time. But I always believe there's a message coming through, and maybe there's energy just to shift and let go of and forgive. And yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's amazing.
no,
That's
it's okay.
powerful.
Yeah, definitely.
So connection, that is deep connection when we're in that space, and we can feel it in the class, you know. Anything else on connection, like for anyone out there? Because we can
Um,
connect to people on sort of, I feel, surface level, which I used to always just be like, hi, how are you? How's your day? That used to be the conversations. For now, my conversations are very deep. And that
yeah,
has been key to my healing, is to be speaking my truth as many conversations as I can, and deeply going to places that I was too scared to go to before.
yeah, totally. Now, I think, and this will probably connect to maybe the entrepreneurs or the business owners that
Yeah.
are listening, because it's what I know best. But for years and years, and just like how I said, how our initial business failed because we were spending too much money on our appearance and how we were
Yeah.
seen by other people. I spent such a long time of my business life trying to appear successful, and there was just this barrier up with all the conversations that I was I was networking every day. I would maybe go to 3-4 networking events a week, but the conversations were just so empty, and
Yes.
like they were so false as well, because I knew that I was struggling and we had no money in the bank, but I was going out and meeting people and speaking about such superficial stuff, like, and just painting this picture that was rosy, and it was just so false, and it was just terrible for my energy,
Yeah, it has
like
a really bad impact, doesn't it?
completely.
Yeah.
And if you jump forward to the likes of the networking events that you do, or the goal setting events that you run, or just your heart meditation stuff as well. Like the connection there is just amazing. Like, and I think what people don't realize is there are business people in those rooms. You don't need to go to a collar and tie business event to do
Yeah.
business, because actually people buy from people. And if you can connect with people on the level that we do
Yeah.
in catch ups or whatever, without an agenda to sell to them,
Yes.
naturally they're going to trust you, and there will probably be some sort of business or partnership that is created
It is,
by
it's what
aye
happens.
100%.
I think when we're just sharing so vulnerably and authentically and saying, this is where I'm at, and then all these collaborations are happening and we're all sort of rising together. And I think you've hit the nail on the head there. It's not about pretending that we're like, oh, I've got all sorted, this is me. It's actually going a layer deeper and deeper and deeper, and just showing your true self.
Yeah, and actually, no matter what level you're at in business, you've never got it sorted because there's always a challenge. There's always the next hurdle you've got to cross, whether it's
You're
raising
always a human.
Aye, yeah.
Unless you get to the point where you're like, I don't know, superhuman and levitating off the ground, then I'm sorry, you're always going to...
Aye, you're always going to be human. You know, you're always going to have to raise finance to grow to that next level. You're always going to have to, you know, deal with staff problems. You're always going to have the same problems as the person that is on a different journey or at a different point in their career. And I've noticed over the past couple of years, the events I'm attending, you know, I'm in rooms with entrepreneurs and just humans that are willing to help. Like, whereas 5 years ago, I was in rooms with people with agendas that just they were selfish, and that rubbed off on me. That would make me selfish. That would make me want to you know, be pitching for business at every opportunity. And the first question would be, so what do you do? Like, such an empty question. Like, so I've definitely seen a transformation in my connections. And actually, like, you're always going to have to attend events and stuff like that are going to be a bit of a drain on your energy and aren't going to be quite the right fit for you. And I always feel that coming to like your class or going to one of Gary's events or Alina and Thomas's events, like, it's almost like I need to go to these to heal from daily life. So it's been powerful. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
The other thing we wanted to do, so connection. So for anyone watching, like, find people that you can connect deeply with on a totally different level, because it will help and support you. And really, what else you want to talk about was fear.
Yeah. Can I just
Tell me,
can I just touch on the connection part? So something we've spoke about quite a lot is when even at your classes, and I know that you're working really hard on this, sometimes I turn up to these sorts of classes and maybe I'm the only guy in the room, or there's just a couple of guys in the room. But there's a particular occasion where I went to one of Gary's classes. I think it was called The Shed. So he was trying to get guys in the room, just opening up about life and their problems and their struggles, and just to get guys opening up in a really safe place. I can remember deciding to go to that first event, and the whole day, so I suffer from IBS, the whole day running up to that, my stomach was in tatters, like, and I knew that was just the anxiety building. But I got to the point where I was in the street that the event was being ran at, and I think I seen Gary go down the stairs, and I was so close. I mean, literally seconds away for just turning and leaving and going home. But I decided to somehow walk into that room. And as soon as I walked in that room, it was just like such a relief. So I think just building that, just having that confidence and courage to, you know, reach out to people and connect to people, is definitely something you have to, like, and apply this to anything, like going to the gym for the first time, or, you know, whether it's going to Weight Watchers or whatever you're trying to do in your life, you need to try and build that initial courage to reach out and ask for help. And that can be really tough, but every time that I've done it, I've been rewarded by meeting amazing people and being truly supported. Like that first Shed event that I went to with Gary, you know, telling my story, I had a lump in my throat, I was sweating, my throat chakra was just completely
constricted.
But as the session went on, like, I just opened up and everything, like, it was like, I don't know, it was just like a layer peeled off, and it was just such an amazing release, and it just gave me the confidence to be able to reach out again. So,
thanks for sharing that. And I think, my sessions were lacking the men. I'd love for more men to come. And I know these things, like you say, it's that fear of, oh God, I don't even want to go in there. But I believe it's so needed in our community right now to just all come together. And, you know, when you share like that, Lee, you heal, but everyone else listening
Yeah.
also heals, because we're all got the same stuff going on. Maybe it looks like a different story, but we feel it when somebody shares like that. When we build that trust with each other, it heals the whole room. So by one person speaking their truth, everyone just gets benefit from it.
Yeah, I agree, definitely.
Oh, I love this. So you talk about fear there, you know, you had the fear before you went into that room. How do you deal with fear? What's your best
That's a hard one.
technique? For me, it's like I love to use the 4-7-8 breath. I don't know if I've done that with you before.
Possibly. No,
Yes.
remind me.
So we're breathing in through our nose for 4 counts. You're expanding your belly out. Then you're holding for 7 counts. And then you're breathing out your mouth for 8 counts. And you can do that just 4 times. And it will help with anxiety. It will really relax you. It also is good to get you to sleep at night. So if you wake up at 3 a.m. and you're like, oh, mind is going mental, get the 4-7-8 breath.
Yep. We have done that. Yeah.
Yeah, we have. Yeah. So
yeah.
For me, it'd be like to go straight to my breath to calm me down. You know, if I've got to go and talk in public, what would you do now?
So I think definitely my first go-to is the breath as well.
Yeah.
100%. So it's just I think I've learned to use fear as a tool, almost as a tool to develop courage. So I now know that if I'm experiencing fear, there is a reason for it. And more often than not, when I experience fear, it's when I'm pushing myself out of my comfort zone. It's when I'm starting a new business, or it's when I'm attending an event I'm going to speak to, or I'm coming on a live interview. I know that I know that the fear is almost necessary, and actually I can turn that, by controlling that fear, I can turn it into adrenaline, for me anyway.
Yes.
But it definitely comes down to the breath as well. So I do practice breathing techniques, just like the ones you've just explained. I never knew it was called that, but yeah,
just the numbers. It's a guy who's created it. If you type it into, anyone watching, if you type that into YouTube, 4-7-8, it'll come up with the guy that created it, and he'll talk about the science behind it.
Yeah, I think when I have planned events, so if I know I've got an important meeting, or I've got something that is of importance that's in advance, I feel that if you try and plan the perfect day, it makes a big difference as well. So I know that I can increase my energy by getting up and going to the gym. I can then increase it even further by going a nice walk at lunchtime, or eating something healthy, or watching either one of your meditations or Andrew's meditations.
Yes.
Andrew Johnson.
Yes.
for 10 minutes can really just change my whole energy and shift it into a positive place. So especially for planned events or things that I might have a fear of, just planning ahead can make a massive difference, and just really sticking to that structure before that event can make a huge difference. But for unplanned stuff, which does happen, I think it's just down to the breath. So using your breath to your advantage and just putting things into perspective, just trying to remind myself that even though the problem might appear big, it's actually only a small problem in the grand scheme of things in my life, and it's even a smaller problem in terms of the grander schemes of things in the world. So I think perspective is important for me, because I can get really worked up with things that appear important to me, but when a loved one, particularly Rihanna, looks in and just gives her perspective, it just, again, it feels like a release, because, okay, to me, getting a client proposal submitted before tomorrow might seem like, and sometimes it does seem like the end of the world. And I stop breathing for hours trying to get a proposal done. I'll go, into a place where I'm not really nice. I'm quite snappy. But as soon as Rihanna jumps in, or someone else does, or actually a I take a step back and I start to focus on my breathing, I
Yeah.
realise that this isn't an important problem. Like, and it's just trying to break those habits and keep
Yeah.
it, because it's easy. So I can speak about this now, but tomorrow I'll probably forget,
Yeah,
and
when you're in it.
I'll repeat the same pattern when I'm in it. So
Yeah.
I think it's just persistence. It's just an ongoing journey. Like I say, I'm 10 years in and I'm still repeating that same problem. But I have the confidence that I'm getting better at it, and I'm trying my best. And I think that's important. Not beating myself up or beating yourself up too much.
Yeah.
Just doing your absolute best every day, being grateful, but also practicing self-love. And that's something that's been really important for me, because I can beat myself up. And you know, sometimes when we catch up, just by the way I speak, you latch onto it straight away. You're like, right, be kinder to yourself, Lee. Like, that
You did
is,
the same for me though as well. Like I think last
aye.
time we met, I was like in my head, and you're like, your energy's funny, and I think, you know, we need those people to sometimes give us a little nudge and to get us out, like can see our blind spots.
I think that something that might be the coaches in us, because
Yeah,
I sometimes feel like I would, and actually probably at some point in the future, I will do an element of coaching in my life, because I feel a pull towards it, and
yeah,
I feel like I have a strength for recognizing people's problems and how to solve them, but I'm not so great at applying that to myself. And it's amazing. Yeah.
I think you are connected to your intuition, and I think, you know, as coaches, that's a great tool to have, because you can. Doesn't mean, you know, somebody said to me, you know, Andy Murray is obviously like #1 tennis player, and he's got a coach. It's not the coach that's the #1 tennis player. The coach can just work out maybe where he needs to make a few adjustments.
Yeah,
So
totally.
sometimes you don't have to be the best at something to be doing the job you really want to do.
Totally. And so you can apply that to me. So I trained to be a personal trainer for a year. I
Yeah.
then qualified. I got myself in an amazing physical shape. And then I've coached literally hundreds of people over the past 2.5 years to be their best selves and to overcome these limiting beliefs, and to educate themselves how to eat and how to train and how to sleep. And then I'd repeated all those things that I had tried to help people stop 6 months ago, and I've
Yeah.
literally just overcame that. So, like, yeah, even coaches make these. And actually, what I find is a lot of the things that I speak about online openly, topics, the inspiration for those topics is things that I'm going through.
Oh, that's
Like, yeah, like,
that's me every week. I go into my classes. I'm like, right, this week we're doing whatever, and it's because I'm going through it, dealing with it,
yeah,
experiencing it. So I think Andrew Johnson always says or shares, you know, we teach what we most need to learn.
yep, 100%. Yeah,
It's so good.
yeah.
So another thing we were going to cover is addiction, and you've spoke a few times that, you know, when you played the golf, you went full in, and when you had the gym, you went right in there and you were exercising all the time. So addiction, is that something that you've dealt with for a while, or?
Yeah, so I think that I think the best place to start with this is, so my dad has struggled with addiction for probably since I was a child. So it's been a massive thing that we've had to deal with, and
Yeah.
he has had to deal with, and that's been difficult for me. It's
Yeah.
been something that I've had to process, and still am processing.
Yeah.
But I think there are certainly areas of my life that I can almost see that I've repeated some of those patterns as well, and I think I do have quite an intense personality, and probably an addictive personality, where when I decide to do something,
Yeah.
it will consume me essentially, particularly in my early years of running my first business. It just consumed me completely, and it consumed me to the point where I was just burnt out completely, like just like unbelievably burnt out. And I think that's the reason that the business failed. Like I just had no energy. I had not an ounce of energy to be able to make a decision. Never mind look after myself. Like there was just no space to figure stuff out. And I think it's taken me a decade, and I'm still nowhere near perfect. I'm still figuring this out, but it's taken me a decade to realize that there has to be balance. There has to be a way to bring balance to your life, and at some point you need to take responsibility for that as well. Because in the past it's been really easy for me to blame things that have happened in the past, things that are external to me, that are out with my control, and they all play their part. But at some point you need, well, for me particularly, I needed to take responsibility for my own life, and I needed to decide what journey I was going to take for me, because there's patterns in my life where I've, from being bullied quite consistently through the whole of my schooling until the point that I got to Loreto, from dealing with addiction, from struggling with mental health, from just lots of other stuff that have happened. A key member of my family blocked me out completely from his life, and that was quite a massive thing for me to deal with. But as the years have went on, I've realised that I just have to accept these things. I need to work through them. I need to understand them, and then I need to take responsibility for putting foundations in place to allow me to live my life the way I want to. And I'm still working through that. Probably about 18 months ago, I decided to get counselling. So I decided to go see a therapist to try and work out some things from my past, to try and I just wanted to understand why I had these patterns that I follow, and why I think the thoughts that I think. And it was useful. It was really good to vent to someone. But I think we might have spoke about this before. It brought everything to the surface. But then I never knew how to process it. I almost felt suffocated. Everything had came up to the top, and I was just this emotional wreck that knew why I was like I had discovered why, but then I just never knew how to process it or how to move on. And that's probably the point that I started to come along to your classes, and I started to reach out and connect with people, and actually started to document a lot of my thoughts and feelings through writing, which was hugely therapeutic for me. But I think, you've got to look at the whole picture. Therapy was great, but I needed connection, and I needed other elements to be able to get me through what was a really tough point in my life.
It's kind of like a jigsaw puzzle, isn't it? Bringing all the bits together. And I think what you've done with your blog as well, and if you could share that afterwards so people can find it, it's just incredible, because you've written so many good pieces there. I think they're so beneficial for entrepreneurs, but also just anyone out there who's searching for maybe answers, or they'll find a lot of insights in your writing.
Definitely. I mean, so one of the things I done earlier on was just read. Before I came on, I wanted to just read, because it's been a while since I've wrote. Journey. So I just wanted to just read through it. And I think a lot of the stuff I write, well, everything I write just comes from the heart. And so there was one piece where I think it's called Conversations with My Barber. It was a piece on the anxiety I had around going to the barber shop and having a conversation with the barber, and how it usually just was around, how's your day been? What do you want a two back and sides? Like, and then that would be the end of the really surface level. And yeah, so like it's everything I write is just what I experience. And I think one of the reasons I wanted to come on here was just if I can even encourage one person to share on a level that I have, like that could really transform someone's life. So that's why I want to be on here, and that's why I write.
Thank you so much for being on here. And,
No
you know,
worries.
to bring this all together, I'd love for you to answer my last question, which is, what do you want your legacy to be?
Oh wow.
It's a huge question. And last week when I said to Gary, he had the same reaction. He's like, oh God. But it just speak for your heart. It doesn't have to be like, it just can be anything. What first comes up?
So I think so. It is a tough question to answer. I'll give you that. I think my perception of what success means to me has like totally transformed over the past 3-4 years.
Yeah.
Whereby my life used to be focused on a financial target, and that target was actually to be a millionaire by the time I was 25.
Oh God.
So
Right.
I've missed that boat, and my life's not over. But I think now it's just to be the best person that I can be, and I think just be a good person. That's something that I'm still working on, and I will continue to work on. But just be a good person and try to positively affect everyone that I come into touch with. I think naturally my skills lie in business and problem solving and startup, and that's something I've pursued recently. As I've now started a creative agency because it plays to my strengths.
Yeah.
So what I've struggled with in the past is I get really excited about starting businesses, and I actually do a really good job of starting businesses and finding customers and building a community. And I get to a certain point and I feel that it's time to move on because I lose that excitement. So what I decided to do recently is set up a business where I can help other businesses
so good. It's so
launch
enlightenment.
products and grow, and it just feels so right. But I think part of that is helping people wherever I can. So playing to my strengths and just being a good person. That is my absolute end goal, is continue to look within and try to help others wherever I can.
And you're always helping others. You're always serving. Honestly, I love what you're up to. I'd love for you as well to share sort of how to get in touch with you. For anyone out there that maybe wants to reach out or who's starting a new business and would like to have like a wee discussion, I'd love and for you to share your blog. So I'll repost this, and then if you can put in the comments anything that you want to share.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, not a problem. Yeah.
And before you go, is there anything you want to get out before we leave tonight? I think it's been incredible though, and I think it's going to help so many people.
I think the biggest thing I want to add to anyone that's listening tonight is don't be scared to follow your heart's ambition. So don't let your mind and your thoughts suffocate your dreams. I think we're reaching a point where there are so many people that you can reach out to. And if anyone is watching this video, feel free to reach out to me if you're thinking of starting a business or launching a new project or a charity or anything like that. Because naturally, over the past year, I've helped so many people just set up businesses and solve problems because I like doing it and I want to help people. But I think just listen to your heart, and I've done that a lot recently. Listen to your heart and just let it guide you. And that's what I'm doing, and it seems to be working so far. So
yes, it is. Boom.
Yeah.
Oh, it's been incredible having you on here. And
yeah, it's been cool.
Maybe we can do another catch up in like 6 months' time and see where we're both at.
Sounds good.
I'm excited for this
amazing.
Journey. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. I will repost this, so if you feel like anyone can benefit from this, men or women in your life, then please tag them on it. Lee, it's been a pleasure. Have a great evening.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, good night.
Bye.
Good night.